Yeah, I think it's a really interesting concept. The the interfaces have to be great. You're going to have you have a little bit of a chicken and egg problem. You're going to have to get a lot of users fast for this to be worth anything. That's your biggest risk here. Your secondary risk is that this becomes a feature or something else. But it's pretty intriguing. I'd also want you to emphasize privacy a little bit, because if you're collecting and sharing all of my location data, that's a little bit freaky.
Good point.
I definitely like the concept. I've looked at some similar companies, and I think this is a very difficult problem to solve. So I'd be curious to see what your IP is around this. There's a company out there, well, I don't know if I should disclose what it is, but very interesting guys coming out of Stanford that are doing something very similar. They recently received a very large round of financing. It hasn't been publicly disclosed, but I'm aware of it. And also the privacy thing. It fascinates me, but it scares me at the same time.
Gady.
So yeah, interesting, like a super duper dodgeball on steroids kind of thing, much better. One thing that I've learned though is that I cannot predict what the public will adopt. Right, I'm just bad at that, and even I don't know that anybody's really good at it. I mean, I'm a terrible proxy for the public. So in situations like this, the only thing I can rely on is what kind of adoption does it already have. And if you're already 10 billion users, you don't need my money. But if there's an interesting ramp, so what I like to see in businesses like this is that they produce something and release it quickly and then iterate over and over, because the only thing I can base an investment decision on is how quickly is it ramping. So without that information, I can't.
Okay. It's interesting. You seem to be somewhere. You're sort of like color without the pictures, or Yobongo without the real time. I think one of the big challenges with these things, you always have to make sure there are enough people on the network to make it worthwhile. And I would have loved to have heard a little bit more about sort of what your acquisition strategy is. I think I've heard similar examples always work well in the dating world, and that's typically because applications like this in the dating world, everyone knows what they're getting late on a Friday night. So,
Paul,
I think
how late were
we had a seed investment a number of years ago, which I chalk up to my lessons learned, and it fell short of greatness. Mitra,
yep.
right? And,
Paul Bragel's
Paul Bragel's a great guy, great team,
Mitra.
but fell short of realizing greatness of their product. And I think that two of the things that were evident very early on was that the filters and the privacy needs to be built into as default in the product, and it can't be features that you charge for. I don't think. My point of view is that to get usage, people have to feel comfortable with those privacy elements. It needs to be built into the user experience so that they're finding the relevant connections. And then the other one is the density issue. And how do you get sufficient density around a location where there's enough interesting people who have a shared set of potential interests? And so I think that it all comes down to what does that user experience feel like, and how does it